Um, and so before 1996, the web looked almost identical to this. It was basically pretty flat, and there are a few hacks like using tables to get layout, but this was basically how most of the web looked like. On December 20th, 1996, CSS got created, and what it allows you to do is they have various things like CSS selectors, and so I can say like the H1. Let's say font family is sans serif. Now we made the font look like that, and let's say color is dark blue, and then we can do things that apply to the entire body. Like we can say body background is light gray, but I don't like that color, so I'm going to do what's called a hex code. And let's try A. Yeah, that's maybe too light, so let's try 99999. Nope. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I'm going to try doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, that's a pretty good color for me. And so then you can further do this, like if you have two divs. Divs are basically just boxes with no border, and I can basically say this is and then I can say that, and then let's give it a defined width of 75 pixels. That's too little, so let's try 175. And then let's center the image. And there. So that's a basic overview of CSS. And let's go ahead and give all of our divs the default background of darker gray. Oh, let's try BBB. And then we can have a padding of 10px. And let's make their max width equal to 50 words. Let's try 10 because we have a 20. There we go. So that would be a very basic like crap CSS style, but the good news is that you've caught up to about 2002. So now we're going to create a new thing. Modern web design doesn't use straight. It doesn't use straight CSS anymore. Pretty much, I mean, you do use straight CSS, but you do it with helpers, and they're called CSS frameworks. And so the most popular one used by over 75% of all websites is called Bootstrap. And so you just type in Bootstrap documentation, and it's going to show you how to get started. What I do is I type in Bootstrap CDN. Then you want to go to the one that says like Cloudflare. So I'm going to type in Cloudflare. And then this is what I want right here. I click here. Bootstrap was made by Twitter about 8 years ago. So then Bootstrap needs these two files at least. So we're going to grab the CSS file and we're going to stick it right here underneath the title. And then we're going to go grab JS We're going to stick that right underneath the title. And now we have Bootstrap ready to go. Someone else is currently... Yeah, sure. So now that we have this, I'm just going to try to ignore that head because we're not going to be messing with it much. And then add some spaces down here. HTML doesn't care how many new lines or spaces that you have. It only cares about one space. Like if I added a whole bunch of spaces, it doesn't do anything. It basically only cares about one space in a row, and it doesn't care about new lines or enters, unless it's inside quotes. And so, let's see. So I'm going to erase this. And now that we're running Bootstrap, we can have fancy things pretty easily. So like if I were to create this button that says hi, that's pretty much what a basic HTML button looks like. But now I can type button and go to Google and type in Bootstrap buttons, and it'll show you all these nice little buttons you want. Well, I think I want the green one. And so the green one is button success. I'm going to copy that. And now we have a nice green button. And because Bootstrap is used on so many websites, like over 50% of the web, not only does it make it easier for you, but it also makes it easier for your users because they get a more uniform experience. And that's one of the main reasons people are doing that. So now, let's start with the really basic HTML form. I'm going to keep that. But I wish it would let me extend this. Oh, here we go. So in here, I'm going to say hello, but I want it to be bigger, so I'm going to change it to what's called a heading. And headings go from H1, which is the biggest, to H6, which is the smallest. And so I think H3 would be pretty good for this one. So I'm going to say hello, and let's create a div. And then let's create another div. And in this, let's say first name. And then let's close our div just to be nice. And then we can do an input text box, which is how we get data from the user. And we can call it a name. And ID. I generally keep my names and my IDs the same whenever I'm developing. And then let's wrap this guy in another div so it's on a new line. And I think that's good. So now we're going to add a style sheet, or CSS. Let's go ahead and erase that, and let's say body background. Actually, I quite enjoyed the green. I'm going to go back to that. And then for every div, let's say background is blue. Or let's just do dark green. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that might work. Let's say the color is white. Font weight is bold. Width is, that's too little. Let's try 150. I don't know. Maybe 250. Yeah, that looks good. And then let's change that to 230 and do a padding of 10 px. I want a separation between the two lines. So let's see, margin. And then let's make the div inputs the same size. So let's say width. That's nice, because now I got it. Now I have it wrapping. All right. And so now I don't really like how this looks, and one of the reasons is it's not centered. So let's go ahead and center it. The way that we do that is we want to create a main content div. Just call this class content. Hopefully that works. It doesn't. Now that I have the content div, I can see content width. Let's say 300 px. Background is clear. Well, for now I want to give it another background just so I can test. So let's say the background is that. And then let's say margin 0 auto, and that will auto center it. And then it's too close to the top, so let's go ahead and say margin top. Alright, that looks relatively good. There are fancier ways to do this, but for this demo it's pretty good. Let's make this, if I were to make this a really, really light green, ooh, that was nice. Okay, and so then the number one thing that's missing, I would say, is a background image. So let's just go here, go to images.google, and let's find rainforest background. We want to go to tools, size, large, or actually for this website, yeah, let's pick one. What about this one? Copy image address. I go up here and I type URL and I paste that. And then let's collapse this so we can look at it better. But yeah, so I think that you can tell how much a background image changed. And so that's the big thing between web development and like the 2005, 2006 web development today, is that you used to have more basic sites like this earlier on, and now we're a little more artistic about it. So you try to find an image that matches your background. And so I like this because it's all different shades of green and stuff. And this would really work well for any number of websites because it promotes harmony and stuff. And there's all sorts of science behind that you should research if you're going to become a front-end developer. And so for the final part of this is we have JavaScript. JavaScript, I'm going to close the HTML. I'm going to close the CSS. JavaScript allows you to make the websites come alive. So right now, if we were to just do this and say hi, like literally nothing would happen because there's no way, we haven't told it to contact a backend server, and we haven't done any JavaScript. And so no one really uses plain JavaScript. If they do, then you want to really not work for them because they'll be very difficult to work with. What you want to do is one of the most common things is called jQuery, and jQuery has a huge market share. So if I just show you, it's used on 78% of the top websites, but it's actually growing. It's on 84% of all websites as of 2020, which is really phenomenal since it's 16 years old. It just keeps getting more and more prevalent. So once again, you want to go to jQuery CDN. That CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. It basically means that another site will host your JavaScript. So let's grab this, and then let's just grab the latest one. You want the minified version, like every time. And so let's just grab that, and then we go back to our header, and we place it like that. So now in our JavaScript file, we're going to say, you always start jQuery with saying document.ready, and then a little parentheses like that. That's how you always start jQuery scripts like this, because it will only execute once the website's fully loaded. So then you use CSS selectors. So the same way that you identify HTML content here is the same way that you'll identify HTML content in the JavaScript. And jQuery was the first one to invent that, and that's why it makes it so much easier to use. So you always start with your $ parentheses with jQuery, and then you want to do quotes, and you want to say like, let's just say H3, and that's going to like know that we're talking about any H3 in this document. And then we're going to say click, and that means anytime the user clicks on it. We're going to do the little parentheses again like that. And we're going to say alert hi. So now when I click this, well, that's sad. The demo guide has struck me down. I wonder why. It says bootstraps. Oh, so it says bootstraps JavaScript must be required before. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to take the jQuery JavaScript and make sure it's the first one in here. So let's just do that. The demo gods are striking me down. Alright, so it's probably a typo in here. Oh, I missed that. Alright, so as you can see, whenever I click the H3, it'll say an alert of hi, but if I click anywhere else, it won't. That's because we told it to click on the H3. Now if we tell it to click on body, then if I click anywhere, it will do that. Alright, so then what we want to do is, let's say $, go down here where we can see our HTML. Let's say ID of hi button. We can say button $, hi button, click, do our little squigglies. And now we want to grab whatever the user enters here. So let's go ahead and create a new variable. I'm going to say const where name equals $, and then we want to say input ID first name, and then dot val, and then we can alert that. So by default, it says I have a typo again. Oh, I forgot that thing. So now, whatever I type here, it's going to alert. Well, you never see these alerts anymore because they've gone away, and now we edit HTML directly. So what we want to do is we want to grab this H3 box, right? And we want to say HTML. We'll say text. Text is equal to hello name. And now whenever we click this, it's going to say hello. But then I want an exclamation mark. And we'll do that. Now what I want to do to wrap this up is I want to say const salutation is equal to hello, and then, well, actually I want to say let lets you change things, and then I'll say if name let's say hello, and I'll say if name is not empty, then I want the salutation to be equal to hi. And then let's replace this with the salutation. So now, if I have a name, it will do that, and if I don't have a name, it's going to say that. And so that's the foundations of modern web development on the front end. You don't want to code it all by yourself anymore. You want to stick with what are called CSS and JavaScript frameworks, such as Bootstrap and jQuery. There are lots of them out there, but whenever you're beginning, I highly suggest starting with jQuery because it's the easiest to get right and it's the easiest to learn, and there's still so much work available for it because literally 90% of the web runs on it. So you're gonna need it for almost any job. So I always recommend still learning it. The other important thing is to always include um, some sort of graphic, some sort of photo on your web apps because that's what differentiates web apps now uh, more and more. Like if I just go to like random ones, like let's check out Zora. See, they have several photos, and let's try another one like let's go to Cloudflare. Well, but anyway, it's getting more and more common um, for that to happen, and so that's my principles for design. So I'm gonna